America's destruction, courtesy of your elected officials. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, March the 20th. And, of course, what do we got going on here? Well, we got March Madness. That's the good news. But other than that, there is not a lot of good news, except, I guess, since the markets were up last week, you could be happy about that. But when you continue to watch the ongoing destruction of this country, the ongoing stripping of your freedoms, and with only more to come, I can't imagine anybody being too thrilled, no matter which side of the aisle you sit on. Both sides are stealing our country and making us into a nation that I don't think we want to be. And hopefully we will come out of this funk and move forward. But, you know, we've talked about in the last couple of weeks of the desire of President Biden to beg Maduro to give us oil from Venezuela, okay, a murdering creep who has done nothing but rob his people blind from the once richest country in the world, to beg the mullahs in Iran for oil, another group that would just as soon see Americans dead, to the war in Russia and Ukraine, which should not have happened. And had we had a stronger hand as a leader, would not be in the process of going on now, killing thousands of innocent people, children, women, everybody, okay, and creating massive shortages of things that are needed throughout the world. And of course, then we've got the potential nuclear threats. And the another great call from President Biden reaching out to President Xi of China and basically being slapped around, told that he's an idiot, which, again, is true. Okay, he is an idiot. But we have things going on here that should not be going on in the United States of America. We have a weakening of our nation by a group of imbeciles, and you can, again, this is bipartisan, okay, on both sides of the aisle. But of course, I think if you understand and recognize that what has happened to our system, okay, it has become all about the money and not about the people that live here, okay. Public servants are not really the public servants that we think of them as. Public servants are those who can, how much can they grab and steal from American people by making bad deals for us, okay, basically in our name, and allowing them to pay us, for us to pay more taxes, for them to get paid off from the lobbyists, and for them to continue to decrease our own actual powers. Again, there's a lot to look at, and none of it is all that great right now. Now, again, we are strong. We have been able to overcome incompetence and ignorance in the past. Can we do it again? We'll see. The time is coming that there's going to be a big decision that we'll have to make in this country. But, you know, if you look at some of the dilemmas that face us, and you can start with one of my favorites, the Federal Reserve, which another organization that was created by some, you know, I guess I can't call them crooks, but their agenda was not in the benefit of the people of the United States of America. Their agenda was to figure out a way to grab as much wealth from Americans and give a supposed private corporation as much power to basically legally run a Ponzi scheme and strip Americans of their money, as very much has been going on in England since the 1600s. The central banking system is as phony as a $3 bill. And I think that, there's going to be a time, hopefully, that we will be able to at least audit what they're doing if not end the Fed. Now, I'm not saying we don't need somebody to regulate certain things, okay? But the Federal Reserve has far too much power and is far too behind the times and is basically responsible for more market meltdowns and crashes than they have helped prevent. Because the bottom line is they prevent nothing. They create these massive bubbles, especially in the last 40 years, going back to the genius of all geniuses, Alan Greenspan, who was the master bubble builder and the continuer of delaying the ultimate instead of suffering it early and where it would not be quite so severe. So where are we today? Well, today we've got dollars that are worth nothing. Okay. Today we've got, yes, higher wages, but wages are nowhere near keeping up with the amount of inflation that we are seeing. We are seeing the stripping of American cash, paying more taxes with less to pay with. Okay, you are seeing the breakdown of the supply chains. You're seeing the breakdown of manufacturing. And of course, you've got the housing report, which is the weakest report, okay, that we have seen in years. You have now got mortgage rates pushing over 4% for the first time in years. And actually, they're closer to 5%, just if you're wondering, because I personally had to go out and get a mortgage for my son. And of course, it is they are getting over closer to 5% and going higher. And of course, the risk of stagflation is real. The risk of returning to the Jimmy Carter era is real. And we have a Fed that refuses to do a thing about it. Now, of course, we had the FOMC this week, which, again, they raised a quarter point, whippy. But of course, they did say very sternly that we could raise 7 more times at a moment's notice. Well, considering that nominal rates are still negative, okay, considering that we are in a major mess, considering that asset classes could price themselves, and money is an asset class that is borrowed, that certainly warrants higher interest rates. It tells us that if they'd have done their job, we wouldn't be in this position right now. Okay, we wouldn't be in the fact where they have to start hiking when we are already in massively amounts of debt in which the United States will have to pay a much higher interest rate. And of course, the quarter point hike on Wednesday will create, of course, a $75 billion a month shortfall, and every raise from there will continue to create more shortfalls or more debt service. Okay, but I think that when you look at it, you've got wholesale prices surging 10% in February. Now, what does that really mean? It really means that the goods that you're going to buy at the store are probably going up by 20% if you can get them. Okay. This is another issue that we continue to ignore and turn our back to because we have an administration in power right now that is so intent on the overall climate change and the garbage that it contains, and it's not really the effect or the effort to fix climate change, is the effort for where they can glom the most dollars through their lobbyists, and that's what you're really looking at. But again, even if the climate change is real, okay, even if it is real, okay, so at what cost do you want to destroy the Americans, the citizens of the United States of America, at the ridiculous prices we are paying for oil and for goods and services, and they're only going higher. And you can assume a minimum of a 20% increase in cost. And we know that wages have not kept up with the cost of going. So you can be making a lot more money than you were years ago, but you're spending more than you were making, and your dollars are worth a dramatic amount less than they were worth in the past. So do you want to continue to believe in this bullshit okay, and listen to this crap that you are fed on a daily basis by a group of imbeciles or our politicians. Okay, again, this is you. I don't care which side you want to listen to on this. They're all full of it because they all continue to feed this story. And it so happens that the administration in power now just happens to be the worst of the worst. But there's no innocent party here on that side. They are all guilty of doing the same thing. Okay, they are all guilty of dealing with the lobbyists and grabbing our money. Okay, but you've got we'll call it the power of darkness. Okay, now I've warned about this for the last about year and a half about digital currency because that will be the final destruction of the United States citizens. Okay, when we indeed start to use a digital currency, not a cryptocurrency, but when they strip you of your paper dollars, okay, and they make everything digital, which is, I think it's coming even sooner than I thought now, okay, and we will call it darkness because that will be the day that all of your freedoms will be stripped in full, okay. Not only have we seen the inability to make a post on a Facebook or a Twitter that is not fitting, or Google, okay, or you've had the freedom of speech, all your freedoms being stripped. Well, now, if we get this digital currency and you have to turn in your paper money, guess what? Okay, from the time you're born to the time you die, the government knows what you're doing. Okay, you want to go gamble privately? You can't. Okay, you want a hooker? You can't. Okay, everything has to be paid for digitally. There will be no more paper money. There'll be no more situations in which you can have privacy on where you're spending the money. In other words, there'll be no more cash deals or there'll be no more specials. It'll all be out in the open and exactly with what you don't want, and having no privacy of where you're spending your money, and everybody will know exactly what you earn, what you do, where you spend it. I don't know. You tell me. Okay. And then you can tie that together with what's going on in Russia. And now that we have a nuclear threat here now, obviously nobody wins a nuclear war. Okay. A nuclear war basically says the end of the world. Okay. Now, I don't think it's going to get there, but you never know. Listen, we've seen lesser powers make attempts because they have less to lose, but I don't know that you would ever get there, but it certainly is something to think about. Okay, when you look at the overall views of this whole picture that we're watching, but you've got the continued cost rise, you've got the continued battle, and you have seen nothing yet. Wait till the food shortage starts to show up. This is something that nobody talks about. But we are already short some foods, okay? And because of what has been allowed to happen in Russia, okay, and because we have such a weak leader here, okay, you have the third largest producer of wheat, which makes bread, okay, in the world, plus the fact of some key components for fertilizer, okay, has been totally destructed. You are going to see a food shortage. There is a lot of things that are going to lead to, there's more people, less food, not going to be a happy marriage. And I think this is, again, these are things that we need to look at and take realistically. If you continue to hide your head in the sand like an ostrich and think that this is going to magically go away, you are out of your mind. Okay, this is not going away. The damage that is being done today is not going to go away. And if you think that you're above it all and it can't happen to you, remember, it can always happen to you, to me, to all of us. Because at the end of the day, we are all Americans and we're going to all suffer the plight of the problems that are being created by a lot of the ridiculous bullshit that is happening right now, and including the unwillingness to allow the shale and fracking producing of oil in this country to go on, among others, which I will talk about, and of course, in my commentary right here on Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 20th, and we'll be right back with more of Bubba's Bottom Line after the break. Well, kids, as you know, it is March Madness, and we're having a good old time. It is at least gives us something to do. We've seen some crazy action in markets, but, our sponsors are, I think, by far the best. Of course, I vetted them all. I use them all myself. But, I think when you're looking, at a broker, and if you're looking for something, now I have other brokers. I always give you full disclosure. But when I'm putting most of my money to work, I'm using for futures and commodities, which I do a big percentage of my business, is with the Capital Trading Group, CTG. Why? Because, listen, they're the most reasonably priced for what they do in the industry. They are easily accessible. They talk to the members. They have no issues. They take care of business. They've got products of their own. They handle all my accounts. So what else can I tell you? I mean, check them out. info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. That's info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And trade your brokerage for equities and options. Let me put it this way. Okay, but it's $10 a month. That should be the only thing I should have to say. Okay, but they also have the ability, we have their APIs, which allows us to automate our programs for you if you choose. Again, they're not required. That is entirely your decision. But in our equity portfolio models, there is no charge for automation. It's still $10 a month. For hedging, there is a licensing fee for the software, but the brokerage is going to be the same at Tradier. And now, excuse me, Tradier will have cryptocurrencies that you can now trade. Keep in your account, not have to segregate the funds so that you can continue to trade and use the money as you do now. Okay. And that you want to get on their waiting list, check out the link and below, and you will see that you can get on their mailing list, their wait list for cryptocurrency. If you're interested in it. Okay. And we're believers here. And it's more exciting when I can actually trade through a licensed broker. And of course, our metals provider for either delivery or for storage, and of course, strategic wealth preservation, which is where I do all my shopping, swbcayman.com/Bubba-trading. That's swbcayman.com/Bubba-trading. And of course, I forgot to give you Tradier's info. It's try.tradier.com/Bubba. That's try.tradier.com/Bubba. Whenever I do that, you can just look on the bottom. In the meantime, in our high school program at Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba-trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba-trading. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and, of course, my market report, which kind of ugly for good guys, but we'll get back to it and we'll spell it out exactly as it happened. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 20th, and, of course, we had some hoops today, too, and we've had a decent run so far. In our basketball, which is kind of like trading, but we'll give you our selection at the end of the show. In the meantime, okay, as we see, we had a pretty ugly week ourselves. I mean, markets exploded higher after opening lower Monday. They basically had one of the biggest weeks of the last year and a half or so. Okay, it was a monster week from Tuesday through Friday. Okay, it was a jumbo when it was a triple witching week. Now, the volume was pathetic, which is very unusual for a triple witching week, but it was absolutely pathetic. But again, remember what we tell you, no matter what I think, and I thought it was a sell all week, and we were unfortunately short all week, although it looked like we might have changed early Friday into it, but it didn't. It didn't change, which is a shame, obviously, because of the big rally. But again, like I always tell you, okay, the market is always right. Whatever I think is really immaterial when it comes to the overall market, because at the close of the day, that's what your position is marked at. That's what you got. Okay. So in the meantime, we will be doing some reversing either tonight or tomorrow. That'll be up to you if you're a member. If you're with Capital Trading Group, it won't be done until tomorrow morning. But the Dow futures are going to reverse, as well as the NASDAQ futures. And, of course, the S&P will remain short for at least another day. But as it stands, they all had monster weeks. And we are, at the moment, we are short, the three. But again, it's going into the new week. We will be short the S&P, long NASDAQ, long Dow, and of course, still long the Russells, which we have been long for quite a while now. Again, we'll see. Do I like the market? No. Do I think we're going higher? Probably not. But can I argue with the system? 100% no. Okay. But in the meantime, gold and silver and platinum, which we're short. Now, we're not short platinum because we don't trade it anymore, but we would be. But they're going lower. Okay. Again, look, long term, remember, there's a difference between trading and long term. Today's trading, I want to be short. Long term, I'm a buyer. Okay. I buy all the time. I buy physical metals all the time. But again, if you look at it, so they're ugly right now. And somebody, I get a lot of hate mail, of course, as you can imagine. And of course, somebody that day wrote me how great it was to go opposite me. I showed him our results, which are very, very good over the history. Okay. And of course, he got clocked on Friday with his big mouth. But hey, listen, everybody's got their own shtick. But in the meantime, we're short them all. And I think gold probably has to test 1900. Silver is probably 2450. Okay. And look, we can go lower. I don't know where the bottom is going to be. I do know that I will continue to buy physical metals as always. And I know that when I'm trading, I'll be either long or short. And that's the end of the day. Okay. Again, because that's what we trade, long or short. The bond market, bonds and notes were, they had a little bit of a bounce from the bottoms, but they're still down dramatically. Interest rates are going higher. That's what they're telling you. Okay. Interest rates up, bond futures down. We remain short. The dollar, we remain long, and it had a little bit of a pullback last week, but it looks like it's going through what they call par or $1 once again. And look, at the end of the day, if it changes, it changes. But, remember that it is still the world's reserve currency. Okay. Crude oil, look, it had a pullback from like 130. We got down into the 90s, and we closed the week out at about 103. Okay. Now, again, I think that we're probably going to see all-time new highs here. Nothing has really changed other than the fact that you had some pushback. And, of course, markets a tendency to get too far away. And when you see a chart going parabolic straight up, you know that it has to have some reversion back to the mean. And I think that's more what you saw. And now we're starting to move up higher again, but I do think you're probably going to see all-time highs. Natural gas, which we're still long crude. I mean, we're still short crude at the moment, okay? But I do think we're going to all-time highs. Natural gas, which we're long, and it's really just kind of vacillated in a small range. But what it's really doing is it's showing you that it has the ability to make higher lows, which means that we're not going to see those dramatic lows of a couple of years ago, and you're probably going to see a big push through on the next move up, okay? So we're still long natural gas. Copper, we are short, and copper was a little bit higher last week. Again, it's been a very choppy type market, but we're still short. Where am I at? The grain markets, okay, were all slightly lower last week. They've been very volatile, but I think you're making a mistake if you think that this is the end or they're going dramatically lower. I think that you look at them, you can see that the charts are pretty strong. Okay. Wheat had the biggest feeling of selling, and we're actually short wheat. We're long corn, we're long beans. But wheat had the biggest pushback. Why? Because it had a rally that went parabolically higher. Okay. So it has to have, again, mean reversion, which means that our methods drag that stop with it as they go straight up. The stop goes straight up with it. So that's why we ended up being short. But I think that they're probably a reasonable long trade here at some point. Okay. But they all look okay. And certainly I am short wheat and long corn and beans, but I could not have a problem if I was also long wheat. And I think we will be sooner rather than later. And in the protein complex, the meats, look, cattle is, had a little bit of a bounce this week, but looks pretty bad. I mean, live cattle, or what they call fat cattle, looks a little bit better, but I don't see anything that is overwhelming. And I think it's going to really come down to the price of oil and where we go from here with the protein complex. If oil continues to go higher, I think cattle goes lower, which then brings hogs into play. And if it goes higher yet, then it brings chicken in play. So in the meantime, we're still short all the proteins. And then the softs, Cotton, we will be reversing either tonight or tomorrow. Okay, we were short. Coffee, we're short, which had a lower week. Sugar, which had a slight lower week, we're long. Cocoa, we are short, and OJ, we are long. So, we'll see how it all plays out. Look, there's a lot of things that come out and are determining factors throughout markets. Okay, and look, we're going to continue to play the same model we played for 40 years, and they've successful. Okay, again, it's been a rough period, and once again, we continue to go into this chop. But the biggest killer is the lack of volume, and of course, Bitcoin had a little bit of a pop at the end of the weekend. It's Bitcoin, until it gets below 36,000 or above 44,000, will continue to trade in this range. So I think it just behooves you to be a little bit more careful, and behooves you again. And I'm a fan. I still own. Okay, but it behooves you just to say, hey, I'm a holder, I'm going to wait, and I'm not going to get worried about the day-to-day price gyrations, because I think that is more damage to more investors and traders and farmers and hedgers than anything else. Looking at a market day-to-day is enough to give anybody a nervous breakdown. So I urge you to, depending on what your objectives are and what you're doing, to look the least amount of possible. You aren't, by looking tick by tick, you are not going to change what happens. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horowitz. It is Sunday, March the 20th. And we've got our March Madness picks coming up. And, of course, my commentary right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line, Sunday, March the 20th. We'll be right back. So, kids, again, just check the bottom. Our sponsors, Capital Trading Group, Trade Your Brokerage, who's going to have cryptocurrencies. Okay, so make sure you get on their wait list if you're interested. Strategic Wealth Preservation, and of course, our high school program at Patreon. In the meantime, we're going to get right back to my commentary and, of course, my selections for Sunday's NCAAs, as we've had some wild things happen. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line right now. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 20th, and so obviously I have commentary every week and give you a little shot of what my opinion is. And, I am so disgusted by this administration. Okay. And not because of the crappy job they do, because they're horrible, and because our president is the worst ever, but because of what they're not doing. Okay. And number one, marijuana is legal in most states today, okay, but it is not federally legalized. And why is it not federally legalized? Well, you can use your imagination, or you can take my opinion, which is that, of course, as we opened up with the destruction of America, they're trying to put all these small pot stores and pot companies out of business so they can clear the decks for the Altrias and the Philip Morrises and the Constellation brands, and screw the little guy. So your party in power that is supposed to be an advocate for the little guy is saying, there you go, little guy. We're not going to help you out. We're going to make you go broke first. And certainly, because there is no reason that marijuana should not be federally legal right now. Okay, there is no reason that we are not collecting from the tax base that would be creating, that these companies would be able to be participants in the economy, and things would actually be better if they'd be able to participate, but no. Okay, which leads me to the other part of this commentary, which is, why are Americans paying between $4.50 and $8 a gallon for gas when we should be paying between $2 and $4 a gallon for gas, when we have a 300-year supply of gasoline in this country without going too deeply into the environment? And even if you believe in climate change, and even if you believe that there's in pollution, that oil, we have not stopped using fossil fuels. So we are still creating the same amount of pollution in this country. And until you're ready, why would you torture and steal money from American people that could certainly be used for other things, not to mention that we could be exporting again, as a net exporter, making profits, helping out our brothers, our neighbors around the world. And of course, natural gas, which is become a scarce commodity, and in the UK and in Europe, where we could have to give them all they needed, and they wouldn't be at the mercy of Putin. So that's my thoughts of that. You tell me what you think. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line, and it is still March Madness. Now, from the official picks that you got from me right here, okay, you had 2-0, and then an 0-1-1 with the Colgate that covered what we said, that we didn't take it because, again, it was becoming too popular a pick. And for today, okay, we like the Houston Cougars against the Fighting Illini, okay, and we like the Villanova Wildcats, okay, and again, I think that you've got some pretty nice choices here. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the madness. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you back here tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later.